Hollywood were also on display. Now take a look at this. This is a picture of Grauman's Egyptian Theater back in 1920. These old Hollywood photographs represent the transformation of Hollywood throughout the years. And officials say the area will continue to thrive and prosper as more businesses and residents move to Hollywood.
While we're celebrating 125th birthday, we're also celebrating, to me, Hollywood's second golden age, which we have emerged into because of the comeback of this area, the work that the city has done with the business community and the residents to make a community we're proud of again.
Officials say they're working hard to make sure Hollywood remains the creative capital of the world. I'm Yana Kay for LA This Week.
The birthday celebration was sponsored by Hollywood's Chamber of Commerce. Tourists may be lured to our region by the glitz and glamour of Hollywood, but LA city leaders are hoping that visitors will also discover the arts when they come to LA. Gil Reyes tells us about a new program that aims to capitalize on a record year for LA tourism.
An invitation from Hunter, the Tyrannosaurus Rex, to visit him and his pals at the Natural History Museum of LA County. It's one of several museums offering special discounts over the next 3 months.
Discover your own city. Use this as your opportunity to go and experience that cultural institution, that art gallery, that performance hall that you haven't been to yet.
The program's called Discover the Arts. It's an outgrowth of January's LA Arts Month. It's offering 2-for-1 admission rates at venues like the Grammy Museum, also the Peterson Automotive, Vende, and Hollywood museums. The goal is to boost interest in those learning institutions dedicated to science, culture, and creativity in Los Angeles.
It's in the words of its writers and the stanzas of its poets. You can hear the spirit in the rhythms and the melodies of its singers and musicians.
LA's own Grammy-winning hip-hop heroes Ozo Motley showed up to support Discover the Arts, holding this free outdoor performance at Disney Concert Hall. Last year, Los Angeles experienced a record year for tourism. 27 million visitors, according to the Los Angeles Convention and Visitors Bureau. City leaders hope the museum discounts help to break another record in 2012.
We're sending a message out to the rest of the country and to the rest of the world. Come to Los Angeles. Be part of the next new thing. Come here and experience the full richness of all of the cultures that come together here in Los Angeles. Make this your destination.
Discover the Arts LA and the discounts offered will last till April 30th, so come check it out. Outside Disney Concert Hall, Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
For printable coupons slashing up to 50% off admission, simply visit this website. That's discoverlosangeles.com/thearts. All participating museums and their discounts are listed. Another part of the city that aspires to be a tourist destination is a historic part of downtown Los Angeles that's been undergoing a rejuvenation over the last decade. Cindy San Luis introduces us to Broadway Boulevard's newest resident and the glitz and glamour she's bringing to the historic core.
One of historic Broadway Theater District's diamonds in the rough will soon shine again as world-renowned jewelry designer Tarina Tarantino brings her talents to Broadway with her upcoming Sparkle Factory.
We would look at this building every day and say, wouldn't that be the cutest building for us? I mean, look up at the top at the facade. It almost has a tiara at the top. It's just meant to be.
This 23,800 square foot historic building was built in 1914 and is now undergoing a transformation to become a Sparkle Factory. This multi-use space will house an innovative retail concept, including a Tarina Tarantino jewelry boutique, design headquarters, and production studio.
We have been huge fans of downtown LA, and we've always dreamt of really having our headquarters here in downtown.
The boutique, to be located in the old LL Bean Western Costume Design Building, will offer limited edition for Broadway-only merchandise, making this flagship location truly unique from its Melrose Avenue, New York City, and Milan sister shops.
To be able to not only continue to make our products in Los Angeles, but to make them in our very own factory right here on Broadway is extremely exciting.
The opening of the Sparkle Factory is just one part of the Bringing Back Broadway initiative, which began 4 years ago. and has been changing the facade of one of the city's most famous streets ever since.
Economically, 500,000 people drive to downtown each and every day to come to work. So we see the importance of downtown, and with this addition, we're going to see Broadway really take off.
The Sparkle Factory sits appropriately at the intersection of the Fashion District and the Historic Theater District on the corner of Broadway and 9th. Once fully leased, the building will be able to sustain over 90 additional creative industry jobs.
So many amazing things have happened here. It's got such an incredible energy. So we're really excited about the possibilities of what it will become.
Tarantino plans to open doors to the public by early fall of this year. From the LL Bean Western Costume Design Building in downtown Los Angeles, I'm Cindy San Luis for LA This Week.
Tarina Tarantino is famous for jewelry featuring sparkling Swarovski crystals and lucite. She has collaborated with brands the likes of Paul Mitchell, Hello Kitty, Barbie, and Wizard of Oz. A new council member is sworn in, a health clinic that caters just to women, and free trees for Angelenos. These stories and more in City Beat.
I, Joe Buscaino, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
Joe Buscaino, the city's newest council member, was sworn in by the Los Angeles City Clerk and City Council last week. Buscaino's family members were in council chambers for the swearing-in ceremony. Buscaino beat out Warren Fruitani in January's special runoff election for the city's Council District 15 seat, left vacant by now Congresswoman Janice Hahn. District 15 covers the harbor area and includes the communities of San Pedro, Wilmington, and Watts. The U.S. Labor Department is looking into payments over several years totaling $1 million, allegedly approved by members of the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum Commission, that were delivered in cash to someone with the union representing stagehands working at events held at the Coliseum. This according to the LA Times. Los Angeles City Controller Wendy Gruhl announced in July that she was beginning the city's first top-to-bottom audit of the publicly owned venue. California Hospital Medical Center celebrated the grand opening of its Los Angeles Center for Women's Health with a reception and tour that was open to the public. The 16,000 square foot facility will offer screening, diagnosis, and treatment of female cancers, heart disease, and other health issues faced by women.
As we see the needs of the community change, we evolve. We evolve and we grow so that we can start to provide those services to this community.
The center is located downtown at 1513 South Grant Avenue. The LA Conservation Corps gave away shade trees on a recent weekend to anyone interested who lives in the city of Los Angeles.
Well, I'm taking advantage of the free tree program that the city has for us today, and it's we have a garden work day tomorrow, so it just coincides that we'll be planting this tree at our new community garden in Elysian Valley.
They have found out that there's less trees in these areas like South Central, East LA, Boyle Heights. Most of they're highly densely populated, but we don't have too many trees in those areas.
A recent study revealed Los Angeles only has 21% tree canopy cover. That's below the national average of 27%. The Islamic Center of Reseda promotes cooperation and understanding between the Muslim community and the wider community. Councilmember Dennis Zine joined local, state, and federal officials to celebrate the grand opening of the center's new home. Here's Yana Kay.
The opening of the center was the culmination of a 7-year effort that involved not only fundraising, but community outreach that touched the hearts of Los Angeles City and county officials.
We celebrate today what we could make out of tomorrow. We have our eyes on the future and how to make it better. And the real lesson of America is that government alone can't make a better future. It must come from the morality and civic engagement of the populace.
We must also stand in front of harm that attacks any one religion in this great nation, because the faith that you have as Muslim Americans is absolutely guaranteed in the Constitution of the United States.
Councilman Zine presented the center with a proclamation from city officials, noting the unifying belief that brings all Angelenos together.
And when I look at that American flag on the wall, that American flag on our wall, that's what we're here for. The red, white, and blue. Doesn't matter what your religion. Doesn't matter what your skin color. What it matters is we believe in what that flag represents. Liberty, freedom, and justice for all.
The Islamic Center of Reseda is a non-political, non-profit independent organization for adults, children, and youth. For LA This Week, I'm Yana Kay.
In this week's list of things to do, a Valentine's party thrown by those behind the Ciclavia cycling events, a photography exhibit featuring some famous faces, and teaching kids all about healthy living. Ciclavia is hosting a Valentine's party from 7 to 10 p.m. Friday, February 10th at Atwater Crossing, which is located at 3245 Casitas Avenue. Bring your Valentine or meet a new Valentine there. There will be music, speed dating, a raffle, an auction, photo booths, and much more. Admission is free, but bring money for drinks, eats, and the auction, of course. In appreciation of past volunteers, free drinks for the first 20 Ciclavia volunteers. Organizers will also be signing up new volunteers for the April 15th, 2012 Ciclavia. For more information and to RSVP, go to Ciclavia's Facebook event page. And it's your last chance to catch the TV Life exhibit of photographs by John Van Hamersveld at the Darkroom Gallery downtown. The exhibit ends on Saturday, February 11th. Hamersveld's best known for his legendary poster for the 1964 blockbuster surf film, The Endless Summer, and his album covers for the likes of the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, and the Grateful Dead. His TV Life photo exhibit brings together a collection covering an important 15-year period of his life, starting from the mid-70s, of his Los Angeles experiences, including photographs taken of some of his famous friends, as well as a selection of his iconic posters and graphic artwork. The Darkroom Gallery is located at 727 South Spring Street. More info can be found by calling 323-271-5635. And if you've got young kids at home and you're looking for some free family fun, head on over to the Japanese American National Museum at 100 North Central Avenue in Little Tokyo for the Target-sponsored Free Family Saturday event from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. on February 11th. February's theme is healthy living. Different workshops throughout the day teach healthy recipes that kids can also help make, like delicious miso soup or kebabs. There's even an origami class and a traditional Japanese bon odori dance class. Admission is free all day, including access to the museum's exhibitions. Call 213-625-0414 for detailed information. And remember, you can find this information on our Facebook page. And that's a look at some upcoming things to do. Residents lined the streets of Chinatown for the 113th annual Golden Dragon Parade that helps usher in the Year of the Dragon, the most fortuitous sign of the Chinese zodiac. If you need a second chance to start the new year afresh, you've got it. Chinese New Year, based on the lunar calendar, fell this year on January 23rd. The annual parade through LA's Chinatown was celebrated that following weekend with the help of local dignitaries that included LA City Councilmember Jan Perry and LA County Supervisor Zev Yaroslavsky.
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year! This is a great tradition in Los Angeles, not only for the Chinese American community, but for all Angelenos to celebrate the Chinese New Year in Chinatown, one of the great neighborhoods and great communities of America.
Parade goer May Razkowski, speaking in Mandarin, her native tongue, wished everyone happiness in the coming spring. And new clothes are in order to usher in a new year of prosperity, and that goes for the little ones as well. And there's no better color than red to signal prosperity and good fortune.
Happy New Year! Happy New Year! This is a really good place to be. We wish you were here.
Parade goers could be seen holding traditional paper umbrellas and donning traditional coned field hats of farmers to shield them from the California sun as they take in dragon dancers, martial arts performances, the Miss Chinatown float, and much more.
So many people came out this year because of the beautiful weather. What better thing that we can do than celebrate the diversity, Chinese New Year, and this great weather that we have in the city of LA. Happy New Year, everyone. Gong Gei Fa Choi.
May the Year of the Dragon bring your family and our great city prosperity and good luck. Serving as the parade grand marshal was Lisa See, author of the popular novels Snowflower and the Secret Fan and Shanghai Girls. And that's going to do it for this edition. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ellen Chang. A reminder that you could catch us online at lacityview.org. You can also follow us on Facebook for stories you might have missed. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
LA City View Channel 35. Your city, your channel.
February 8th. I want to welcome you all to the City Hall Council Chambers. Our council meetings, we meet at 10 a.m. on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We welcome you to come and give your input. All of our committee meetings and our council meetings are open to the public, and you definitely are welcome. My name is Herb Wesson, and I am the president of the Los Angeles City Council. If I could have it a little quiet. Members, if I could have it a little quiet. This meeting is now in session. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alarcon, Buscaino, Cardenas, Englander, Garcetti, Huizar, Koretz, Krikorian, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Zine, Wesson, 11 members present, and quorum, Mr. President.
First order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Buscaino moves. Mr. Englander seconds. Next.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. Krikorian moves. Mr. Zine seconds. Next.
Mr. President, would you like to run through the agenda at this time?
I would like to do that. Why don't we start off with the first section of the agenda?
Very good, sir. Item 1 is an item notice for public hearing.
Any cards?
No, sir, there is not.
Members? Then on item 1, why don't we open and close the public hearing? It's time to vote, so why don't we open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Next.
Mr. President, items 2 through 8 are items for which public hearings have been held.
All right, member special, Mr. Zine. Mr. Zine, number 2. Specials, Miss Perry.
Just number 2. I just did that. Oh, you did? Sorry.
All righty. Any cards? No, there are no cards. Then let's vote on that item. Let's open the roll. Let's close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay, that brings us to what?
Mr. President, that brings us to items 9 through 19. There are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
All right. Without objection, those items are now before us. Mr. Clerk, any cards?
Sir, yes, sir. We have cards on items 9, 14, 18, and 19.
Specials members. Specials members. Hearing and seeing none on the remaining. Mr. Clerk?
Mr. President, pardon me. There's been a request to send item 10 forthwith.
Without objection. So let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Next.
Mr. President, on the supplemental agenda, item 20 is an item for which a public hearing has not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Without objection.
Mr. President, a communication from the Jobs and Business Development Committee Chair is pending. I would recommend holding this matter on the desk until the subject communication has been distributed for the members to review.
Okay, why don't we hold that item on the desk? And where does that bring us now, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. President, that brings council back to items called special or general public comment.
All right, I think we'll start with general public comment. I'm going to request that Mr. Reyes, if you would take the com. We are on general public comment.
Give it the sweet stuff.
Okay, good morning. So let's begin with public comment, Mr. Clerk. And we have in front of us Henry Marine. I'd like to come on up. And then Mr. Herman. And then Arnold Sachs. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. In regards to naming City Hall East, James Hahn, he's our, as you know, he's our controller, city attorney, and mayor. Paragraph MOU 35 was produced in Jimmy Hahn's in the administration of Jimmy Hahn as a city attorney. Paragraph 8 shows he has no intent to discriminate against anybody by showing that an employee can only be employed, maximum time an employee can be employed under MOU 35 was 1 year, which we know 1 year's service is equivalent to 1,000 hours of pay. However, in comparison, MOU 62, written by Rocky Delgadillo, says you can keep people in a temporary position forever. And that's discrimination. We know that any money deferred from the Hackley employee or city employee, as shown in ongoing MOUs, is a public debt. But nobody wants to account for it. Who's going to deny that Rick Tuttle, Laura Chick, and Wendy Grew failed to accurately account for the time and money of others? So when are you going to start doing something about it? And then your item here about the 2010-11 budget for trust, jointly managed. Who's going to report about the money going to the Building Trades Trust from checks from Rick Tuttle, Laura Chick, and Wendy Grew? You're gonna ignore that, or you want to discuss it? You're discriminating. You know it's discrimination.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Herman. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, council members. Good morning, Jose Huizar, where you may be. But today I come to speak to you, Mr. Huizar. I come to speak on behalf of constituents. What rule do we have to follow for appropriate information regarding services, Councilman? We need comprehensive operation to set right constituents' concerns, not just in your district, but in every district. What happens when ineffectual staff cannot and do not provide support or lack of services to address constituents' concerns? A gentleman a couple of weeks ago was here on the 13th, and he said, "Why can't I get the attention of your staff, Mr. Huizar? What do they have against me?" I'm not here to direct my concern to that, but as I am speaking and saying to all of you and to those in the audience, is this: we must provide appropriate services, not give excuses, not make delays, not invite me to your council office, Mr. Huizar, Ms. Gubas. It's sad when you don't want to make the appointment with me, when you don't want to sit down and discuss a matter. This is public comment.
Yes, but refer to the council, not a specific council member. Thank you.
Add some minutes, please. This would mean he or she is inept at socially interacting with people of all kinds within our community, whether you're African American, Asian, Hispanic, and other, such as myself. Without regard for what is right, just, to behave in a wanton manner is unacceptable. Wrongful information and done intentionally.
Thank you very much, sir.
Without just cause.
Thank you, Mr. Herman. Our next speaker is Arnold Sachs. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Mr. Arnold Sachs.
Yes, thank you. Good morning. Arnold Sachs. You know, I was going to come in here this morning because of yesterday's discussion. I was going to apologize because Mr. Reyes claims that my facts were wrong in discussing how I could make the accusations regarding my bus pass and the Gold Line Construction Authority. So I went back home and I looked at my facts. And I have here the history of Senate Bill 1847, which was approved in 1998, creating the Pasadena Metro Blue Line Construction Authority. Then I have a land grant deed from 2007 that granted land to the Los Angeles to Pasadena Metro Blue Line Construction Authority, aka the Metro Gold Line Foothill Extension Construction Authority. That was in 2007. Then I have Foothill Extension news from December 2009 that lists Mr. Ed P. Reyes as second vice chair of the council member, City of Los Angeles, appointee, City of Los Angeles. And then I have Assembly Bill 706, which was adopted in October 7, 2011, which allows for the use of the Metro Gold Line Foothill Extension Construction Authority. So from 2009, when this letter from the Foothill Extension News naming Mr. Ed Reyes, who must be a different Ed Reyes than the one sitting in this city council, as a member of the board, till 2011, when the Gold Line was authorized by the state legislation, it was all legal because he said the city attorney approved it. So maybe you should look into what the city attorney's doing. Because at $20 a month, which is what my monthly MTA bill has gone up in 3 years, that's like over almost $200 million. And MTA is crying poorhouse. And Mr. Wesson, you were wrong to put his butt up there.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. Our next speaker is Armanak Marjanian, and then Mr. Matt Dowd. Could we please bring down the volume of our conversations? Thank you very much. Sir.
Respectable City Council members, good morning. Good morning, fellow Angelinos. My name is Armanak Marjanian, and I'm a liberal Democrat. I run for the seat of California State Assembly. I stand for racial integration, social justice, environmental protection, and technological revolution. I propose to raise taxes 50% against oil producers and gasoline selling corporations and wealthy individuals in order to replenish state coffers, in order to keep social programs up and running, in order to expedite issuance of Section 8 housing vouchers. I also propose to shut down all Californian so-called medical marijuana dispensaries, as relative majority of Californian public voted to reject legalization of marijuana, and California voters rejected Proposition 19, last year. And actually by 56%, according to MSNBC. And I believe that City Ordinance, Los Angeles City Ordinance number 181-530 violates United States Controlled Substances Act by explicitly authorizing and sanctioning sales of harmful narcotic marijuana in the city of Los Angeles. And I believe since members of city government want to go in on and be responsible for sales of harmful narcotic marijuana in the city of Los Angeles, I will personally petition, federal attorneys in order to indict and prosecute all members of city government who are responsible for carrying out this criminal politics, illegal politics of selling harmful narcotic marijuana under pretext of so-called medical marijuana. And also, I propose to raise the speed limit 20 miles up on California highways and freeways, and also grant 6-month pregnancy leave to all California women. As well, I propose to make same-sex marriage lawful.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Mr. Matt Dowd.
All right, thank you. Yeah, first of all, you got problems because of yesterday, the T-shirt. Got council people getting up saying a T-shirt is a disruption. Paul Krikorian, these guys who ought to know better, because read the case law. The Ninth Circuit says disruption means actual disruption and not the doublespeak that Eric Garcetti comes up with after public comment on Friday. Oh, it's something called a disruption. No, that's the kind of doublespeak the Ninth Circuit specifically said no. You can't be diluting people's rights. That's the First Amendment we're talking about. You know, does Bill Rosendahl want his gay rights diluted? Like, he wouldn't have them if it wasn't for the First Amendment, would he? There'd be none of it. But you still willfully want to just violate and trample, and it reminds me of Venice Beach. The permits and taking names and the police harassment on me. You know, this is the symbol that depicts all that. You know, the Sieg Heil, you know, Gestapo, Nazi Germany, all the ugliest things. Oh, and that was Venice Beach, though. To me, going to frickin' jail. Getting tickets for having a microphone stand over 4 feet high. See, Jan Perry's the only one I respect here. Honestly. Because she told Tom LaBonge to sit down when I was talking about her. Because it was none of his business. So she ought to be mayor, and Eric Garcetti ought to crawl under a rock.
Thank you very much. That concludes public comment. Yes, Councilmember Krikorian.
Just for the record, what happened yesterday was that one of the speakers came with an offensive T-shirt that bore a profanity that's unacceptable on television. He can stand there at the microphone and say whatever he'd like. He can wear whatever T-shirt he'd like. But the taxpayers of Los Angeles are not obligated to afford him the opportunity to broadcast his message on television, especially when it's offensive to the vast majority of Angelenos who watch our meetings. He certainly has every right to speak, but he doesn't have the right to use the airwaves at the taxpayers' expense.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Mr. Clerk, let's move on to the next phase of the agenda.
Mr. President, if you'd care, the Jobs and Business Development Committee communication has been distributed and is now before you. Furthermore, there are no cards on this matter.
Great. Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay. Let's get us to the next item.
Mr. President, that brings us to item number 2, called special for Council Members Zine and Perry.
Okay. Councilmember Perry?
I'll defer.
Councilmember Zine?
Where'd he go? I'm not sure where he is. Hold on. He has a comment or a question he wants to make. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that I had a separate vote so I could vote no. Again.
Okay, Councilmember Zine?
There he is.
Come on, sir. We're waiting for you, sir.
Thank you very much. Okay, I did watch. If Water and Power can come forward, please. I have a question regarding what is viewed as the average rate, the average consumption. And I received my water and power bill from 11/30/11 to 1/31/12. And I'm trying to determine what an average amount of water that you say 1,200 cubic feet. And I'm looking at my bill, and I do not use a whole lot of water, and I am the sole occupant of a residence, and I am 15.500 cubic feet. I'm trying to figure out, if you're talking about 12, how much water would that person use? Is that a single person? Is that a person who never showers? Is that a person who never uses a facility? Because I look at 31 for 2 months, it comes out to 15.5. How do you come up with the estimate of 12? And by the way, this bill is $264.78, including $100 for sanitation charges. So the question is, where do you come up with that average of 12?
Council member, what we do is we look at our 660,000 or so customers, and we rank them based on how much usage they have. And based on our information, we have approximately 80,000 customers who use about 9 HCF per month, and about 81,000 customers who use 1,200 cubic feet per month, and that's based on actual customer data.
Okay, those numbers again. You have how many customers?
We have approximately 660,000 customers.
660,000. And the ones that are using 12 or less?
And that's for single family. It's 80,997 residential customers.
80,997. So almost 81,000 out of 660,000 are using 12 or less?
They're using 12. We have another 79,853 that use approximately 900 cubic feet per month. We have 57,354 that use roughly 600 cubic feet per month. And then we have
600?
The 600 cubic feet per month. So 6 billing units.
Okay.
And then we have 22,143 customers that use about 3 billing units per month.
So when you say the average of 12, you're talking about 81,000 people out of 660,000.
Yeah, approximately, yes.
Did you figure out what percentage that is?
51.8% of our cumulative total uses 12 billing units or less.
So about half the people.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zine. Our next speaker, Councilman Perry, then followed by Councilman Koretz.
I'm fine.
You're fine?
Yeah.
Okay. Councilman Koretz, and then Councilman Cardenas.
Yeah, I've had some complaints in my district by businesses who have said they weren't noticed about this increase. So I'd ask the clerk to tell us how we notice this. How do we typically notice rate increases? Was this done any differently? And if we delayed it a week, would we notice things any differently?
Mr. Kretz, that would be more appropriately responded to by the department itself.
Okay, well, in that case, I will ask you then to give us that information.
Morning, Councilman. Joe Brivich, Assistant General Counsel for the department. In accordance with the California Constitution, Prop 218, we provide notice to all customers at least 45 days. We actually do it 50 days in advance by the mailing authorized pursuant to the California Constitution. So they are given at least 50 days notice prior to the hearing.
In what form do we notice them? Because there are a lot of businesses who have been asked and have said, oh, we never received any notice. This is a complete surprise to us.
We notify them by mail as provided for in the Constitution.
Which is?
U.S. mail.
So you provide a separate mailing just saying that there's a rate increase, or is it included with the bill? What's the process?
It could either be in the insert as an insert, or it could be a separate mailing.
So every single business customer would have received notice in a
Every single
fashion.
customer would have received notice, yes.
And
we don't discriminate between a business customer and a residential customer.
But they all would have received notice.
Yes, and indeed we did receive, of the protests that we received protests from business customers.
And so if we delayed this a week for noticing, we wouldn't do anything different. We wouldn't notice it again in writing to every customer and go through that additional expense one presents.
Correct. That's a major expense.
So if we did additional noticing, what would we do if we delayed it to find some way to get the word out? What process would we use? What would be practical?
Well, Councilman, it's a difficult question because you deal with over 600,000 customers, and that's why the Constitution allows you to do it by mail to the customer's billing address, so you can get the notices to them. I don't know, short of how else we would accomplish that, and we're doing it in conformance with the law.
And in the past, we've always done it this way as well.
Correct.
This isn't a departure from any of our previous
Correct.
rate increases. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Councilman Cardenas.
Thank you. I think that was wonderful so that we can all appreciate the fact that the Department of Water and Power is following the letter of the law and the requirement when it comes to any kinds of notice. But beyond that, I just wanted to point out that this is for the very first time the Department of Water and Power has actually done outreach in a way that, in my personal opinion, is satisfactory and should be a model for any department within the city or anywhere in the country. You have done more community meetings than anyone has asked for. You have made sure that they're in the mailings. You have made sure that you break down the actual explanations as simple as I've ever seen the department do. And I think it's really important for everybody to understand that we can continue to notice and notice and notice and notice. However, the fact of the matter is, this is the largest Department of Water and Power in the country that is undergoing day-to-day responsibilities in the entire country. So this is a department that still has work to do every single day, and you were able to figure out how to satisfy the requests and your responsibility, not only from the council members and the mayor's office and the community neighborhood councils and community members throughout the city. You actually responded by actually communicating in a very clear and simple way, taking in their questions, answering their questions, etc. So I want to thank you for doing that. I've been on the council about 9 years now. I actually chaired the committee that oversaw the Department of Water and Power in the first years that I was here, and I can tell you it is night and day in a better way today than it was before. For the first time, we have a general manager who is able to listen and speak at the level that the public can understand exactly what is going on with the department. Running the largest Department of Water and Power is not rocket science, but it is a bit complicated. And I think it's really important that we recognize that we don't have a perfect department, but it's come a long, long way. And when it comes to this particular rate increase, that quite frankly, members, has been put off since last summer because of responsibilities and external things that are happening in and around the department, like a ratepayer advocate, that is not within the control of the department. And they held off this process as long as they possibly could. And I remind us, this department has a department to run. And it was explained the last time we had this before us. This is the second vote on it. And I hope that we can see some consistency and some appreciation from the council toward a department that is actually listening once and for all, finally listening to the elected body, the City Council, actually listening to the ratepayers and the public, and who has done everything that they could to postpone this as long as they could, and now is the time for us to make a decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Councilman Rosendahl, then Councilman Zion for a second time.
Good morning. I totally agree with my colleague Tony Cardenas on that. I'm very happy. My constituents get very engaged in these issues, and you all did a terrific job of outreach. Made a lot of sense. The big question I still have is we are in a serious economic downturn. I don't care if it goes, better moment. It's going to be a while. And I worry about the seniors, those on extremely low fixed income that can't find another buck here or another 20 here or another $50 here. And that makes me very nervous. A lot of them are seniors, obviously, and a lot of them are just people that unfortunately are on hard times, as are a lot of people in the Los Angeles area. Have we figured out how we're going to capture that group and do something that doesn't create insanity for them?
Well, Councilman, I appreciate the concern, and we do have as I think you're aware, we have a program that specifically targets low income and seniors. Yeah. Actually, two separate programs. Right. Gives them a 30 to 35%, depending which category, discount for that. They continue to get that discount. To be clear, this adjustment will adjust all customers, but all of the remaining customers fund that discount to those parties. We're doing everything that we can with regard to that. In addition, as we go forward, we're very much trying to focus on our lower income customers in our both water conservation and energy efficiency investments as well, so that not only can we hopefully keep their bills as low as we can, because their bills still are significantly lower than competing utilities around,
Right.
but that we can also hopefully continue to save them on the amount of their bills through water conservation
Do you have a
and through
sense of
energy
how many
efficiency.
folks we're talking about within the population here?
I do. Well, within those that are registered with us, we have about 75,000 water customers who are on our low income. We have cumulatively between water and power on the order of 300,000 customers that are. So keeping in mind that's out of about short of 1.4 million customers. We have 300,000 that we are funding. 30 to 35% discounts.
Are you going to give them a special notice and let them know that something's going to adjust and they'll end up paying more?
Well, they've received the notice in advance under the provisions of Proposition 218.
Right.
Already.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Rosendahl. Next speaker, Councilman Zion for a second time.
Yeah, just a couple items. The notices, I think these are the notices that went out, and they explain exactly what's going to happen with the rates. So there was adequate notice, as far as I'm concerned. Originally, and I still have that same concern, Dr. Pickle hasn't had a chance to review these issues on this rate. The additional increases are going to be coming shortly. This is not the end. This is just the beginning of a number of increases coming from the Department of Water and Power on the water side, the power side. And the other question I had was brought up when sanitation was here, sewer and sanitation charge on the sub-meter. And the Department of Water and Power and Sanitation can do something to help those folks with the sub-meter program. Is there any advancement on the sub-meter program? Because that would obviously save the folks some dollars when they have to pay the bills. Because there was a commitment that there would be some movement between sanitation and Department of Water and Power on the sub-meter program, which obviously we know the water goes into the ground, they don't get charged on the sewer and sanitation charge. Has there been any progress on that? Because that was a commitment when the rate was increased for sanitation. And they were going to work with you folks to come up with something on this.
And we, Jim McDaniel, Senior Assistant General Manager for the water system, we have been in contact with sanitation, and we're exploring ways to better publicize the program and make it more widely known, because a lot of people aren't aware that that option is available, that people can purchase a separate water meter for their landscape irrigation, and that meter will be read separately from the water meter, and then that amount going towards the landscape does not count against their overall water use for the purposes of sewage bill calculation. So we're looking at ways to try to get the word out on that, coordinate our websites, bill inserts and that sort of thing, so that we can get a higher subscription level at that.
And do you know what approximately the cost for the sub-meter is?
We provide the meters at the actual cost that we buy the meters from, so it depends on what our what our last bid is, but we provide them at cost for the customers, and then they use their own plumber to install the meter, and then we inspect it.
And they have to have them from the Department of Water and Power to keep it accurate?
Because it has to be part of our system that's compatible with our metering system.
Okay, if you can just get back to me, so we would let the Valley folks know, because there's been some concern. When are we going to get this thing? They hear about it, but they haven't really had a lot of tangible information.
All right.
Okay,
we'd be happy to do that.
Thank you very much.
Okay, well, thank you. That was the last speaker. Seeing no one else on the queue, let's open the roll, close the roll, tally the vote. Public comment has
9
already
ayes,
been.
3 noes.
Thank you very much. Next item.
Mr. President, that brings us to item number 9, called Special for Cards.
Mr. Koretz?
Yes, I apologize. I was having difficulty with my button, and my no vote was not recorded on the last item.
Okay, no vote?
So if I could please add that, I'd appreciate it.
Okay. Doesn't change the outcome, but okay, thank you. Thank you, sir. All right, item number 9 is in front of us. We do have 2 speaker cards. It's Arnold Sachs and Amanak Nojanian. Please come on up.
Yes, thank you. Thank goodness this hadn't been held on, like, giving the opportunity to the public to express their concerns over 4 minutes over a rate increase that's going to be around.
Please stay on focus on item number 9, sir.
Be a rate increase that's going to stay around. Well, part of the funding that gets transferred comes about because of the rate increases. Is that correct? I would imagine. And I am on focus, unlike the sitting member of the Gold Line Construction Authority. But giving people 4 minutes to speak is totally throw the public's right to opine on items that could be considered detrimental to the public, to the city council. Anyway, it's that time of year again. 2 years ago, we were busting your chops to figure out how to get $73 million from the DWP. Last year, a transfer of over $250 million in one shot, except for the, 3 months that went into the new fiscal year. And now here we are again, $250 million transfer one time. It's amazing how the policies changed and how City Council managed to sail the good ship Lollipop through the storm of bankruptcy just like that without having any explanation except the fine leadership from the horseshoe, or horse's ass, whichever way you look at it. So will all this money be coming to the city, be transferred in one fiscal year, or will this also be put off, or maybe, and the rate increase that was, the rate cap from the new rate increase that's going to go into effect, will that have any effect on this money transfer? Because there is no more 6% quarterly rate cap for DWP. Will the transfer be going up? And this is actually
Thank you,
$2
Mr.
million
Sachs.
less.
Our next speaker, please. Armanak Nurjanian. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Armanak Nurjanian.
Respectable City Council members, dear fellow Angelinos, I actually oppose that resolution with number 9 because it's actually it's very unfair towards Angelinos, towards the Department of Water and Power. If you take away $250 million, from the fund, power revenue fund of Los Angeles DWP, and it actually will eventually raise those rates, for all those Angeles, because they're out of money. You're taking away their revenue, their income, and they need to fix their equipment. They need to actually, fix those power stations, power distribution centers, stuff like that. All requires money and pay their personnel as well. So if you take away that their revenue, it's actually they will go broke, and they'll have to come up to you with rate increases, and they will cause further discontentment Angelino voters, and will actually backlash back at you, council member. So believe me, better strike down this resolution 9, because it is fiscally irresponsible resolution, which violates rights of Department of Water and Power to have revenue. This is outrageous, in my opinion. That kind of politics of fiscal irresponsibility, conducted by city council members, because they strip Department of Water and Power its legitimate income, and legitimate profit, and it will eventually negatively reflect on those opportunity to sustain its own livelihood, And then, well, actually, again, I ask City Council member to strike down item 9.
Thank you very much. Seeing no members on the queue.
Matt Dowd.
Mr. Matt Dowd. Come on up, Mr. Matt Dowd.
Yes, thank you, and appreciate that getting us in. This is an important one, of course. I got to talk about this $250 million going into the reserve fund, the city's reserve fund during this fiscal year, and so here's what it looks like to me. It's just musical transfers. But what they do is they take the money from the taxpayers when they raise the rates. Everybody's seen it on their power bill. And then they're moving the money into the reserve fund. And now I want to know what happens to it after that. and I think the pension board's got their money on this, on their eye on this money. Sorry. To pay out the pensions, which is coming up again, and of course the city's in big financial trouble, and it's ongoing, and the CRA is not going to help either.
Thank you very much. Seeing no one on speaker queue, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, next item.
That brings us to item 14, called Special for Cards.
Okay, item 14, we call special for cards. We have Mr. Arnold Sachs and Armanak Nojanian. Come on up, please. Mr. Sachs, then Armanak Nojanian. Item 14.
Respectable City Council members, Your Fellowship, actually, I actually support with Resolution 14, you know, because it's actually raised the issue of issuing those tax-exempt bonds by California Statewide Community Development Authority for some kind of private development called Paradise Arms Apartments. Well, actually, issuing tax-exempt bonds, I believe it's progressive politics, and City Council members might actually approve it, you know, adopt that politics, because it actually will enable City of Los Angeles to raise funds, you know. Well, actually, it's what kind of legislation? I actually want to get more what kind of legislation, you know, from City of Los Angeles City Council to raise more tax bonds, you know, for the City of Los Angeles, you know, so that will actually attract more funds, you know, to City of Los Angeles coffers, you know. Well, actually, that's about it.
Thank you very much. Arnold Sachs.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, good morning, Arnold Sachs here. You're going to raise some funds, you're going to sell some bonds for this project. So I'm just curious, because previously in your agenda, you're discontinuing a project, terminating an agreement with CRA LA for the Thermal Grand Avenue project, a now infeasible mixed-use condominium development, 8th and Grand. Why not provide state funds for that? Why not provide the bonds to continue that? And why would you discontinue this based on the fact, you know, there's no discussion about, this is a Grand Avenue project, and by the way, Super Bowl was great, wasn't it? The Giants won, and what else is going on?
He's not talking about this item.
Well, I'm listening to the conversation going on around inside me, so why should I be on point, Mr. City Attorney? Why don't you say something about
Please
that?
lower your voice, sir. You're disrupting the meeting.
I am. Meeting's being disrupted by the conversations
Mr.
going
Sachs,
outside.
please.
Going on outside the
Focus on the item in front of us, sir.
Please have
Focus
stop.
on the item.
My time has been running all this time.
It's your discretion.
So now, back to the Super Bowl. Oh, wait, that's off the topic. So again, why not provide funds? Why isn't this being funded with CRA money? You know, there's over $400 million turnover, or excuse me, over $200 million rolled over into the new fiscal year, creating over $600 million balance in CRA funds. Why do you need to get state funding for this project? And again, why can't there be state funding or bonds for this Grand Avenue project, which was proposed probably before the museum parking lot that was created with $50 million in CRA funding? And Mr. LeBond, you don't have to be in the room to vote yes. You know that.
Thank you very much. Again, please, those that are in the chamber, you can bring down the conversations. Appreciate that very much. So, Mr. Sachs, we're ready to go, Mr. Clerk? Let's open the vote, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay.
Mr. President, that brings us to item 18, called Special for Cards.
Item 18, we have Mr. Matt Dowd and Mr. Armando Herman.
Yes, thank you, Matt Dowd, of course, pioneering the way in public comment on Channel 35, Los Angeles City Council. Tom LeBonge is here. It's good to see him, because this is one of his items. It's a good one. I can trust him with this one, I think. It's only $1,000, so it's a good one. But, he's involved with Garcetti, of course. So this is a payback for obviously something that, Garcetti got for probably $1 million. No, I'm only kidding. But look, how come we have to establish a program to inspect the trees on Los Feliz when we just say, let's just go inspect them for $1,000? See, that's what I'm worried about. It's more of this double speak of like, gee, let's establish a program to inspect the trees. So we'll establish the program. Let's spend $1,000. And gee, we got the program, but the trees haven't been inspected yet. So we'll come back to City Council and burn up a little more time while we, show people the power of the public comment process to get more funding for these trees. And they're watching out there on Channel 35, let me tell you, because they come up to me and they say, you're doing a great job with Tom LeBong and all the cedar trees up there at Los Feliz Boulevard. So I'm in favor of this item. Thank you, and I'll hand it over to the next public comment speaker, City of Los Angeles, Ed Reyes and Dion O'Connell. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Armando Herman.
Council members, Mr. Garcetti, it's a good thing we can place trees within our communities, but at the same time, before I go into this subject matter, a few of my cards have been displaced, but I won't go into that any further. But I just want to acknowledge it, that for some reason, for the second day, my card has been misplaced. But I am sure it's not personal. But Garcetti, I'm interested to know is what are street furniture revenue funds? I know in other districts, such as in District 14, they're used for many purposes, multiple purposes. But time in, I think the public, I think the citizens of Los Angeles would like to know what specifically is the design and the measure of these. And if Mr. LeBonge, maybe if you have an answer for that, I would appreciate it if you can give me an answer. Because to establish a program, as mentioned earlier, you have to have details and you have to be specific. You have to have a timeline, a measurable timeline. Without a measurable timeline, again, this creates problems of deficit, which the budget within City Council, within the Mayor's office, is astronomically out of hand. And so, yes, there is a need for these programs, Mr. LeBonge. It's an appropriate time.
Again, please address the council as a whole.
Mr. Reyes, yes, it is an appropriate time to address these concerns when the deficit and the budget should be the most important thing to calculate all these programs, to establish all these ideas. But in the matter of where it's going and how it be, I really would want to hear a motion as to what is the use of street furniture revenue.
Thank you, sir. Just as a point of information, the card was not lost. Public hearing was satisfied on the previous item. Thank you. Okay, so we have Councilman LeBonge on the queue.
To let you know, on November 30th and December 1st, it was the worst windstorm in our lifetimes, and it cracked many trees throughout the San Gabriel Valley, through the Arroyo Seco, as you know, in your district, Mr. Reyes, through the Los Feliz, Silver Lake, Griffith Park area. More trees fell, Mr. Wesson, at Roosevelt Golf Course than at Wilson, which is on the north coast. On the south side, trees fell. On Los Feliz Boulevard, These are very beautiful trees that are tall with great arms, great branches, planted in 1916 by the Los Feliz Improvement Association. They need to be inspected because even this morning on Franklin Avenue, I saw a deodar pine that had a crack in it, and the next windstorm it's coming down. So that will be handled. Our services for street services have been greatly reduced. All of us have the money from our street furniture fund, which is the funds the council derives from the advertising to the bus shelters. This is a very important use, and I thank you for an aye vote on this. And check your branches, because the next storm, if you have long rows of trees, they sometimes get hidden up there. And I also want to thank Avak Katalian, who's a junior inspector in my area, who walks Los Feliz Boulevard.
Thank you, Councilor Labange, for that proactivity. Appreciate the advice. Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tally the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, next item.
Mr. President, that brings us to item 19, called Special for Cards.
We have several speakers, Mr. Matt Dowd, Mr. Herman, and Armanak Nojanian.
Mr. Lamont said in a couple of minutes he'll be right up.
Okay. Mr. Matt Dowd.
All right. Thank you. Yes, what a great item too that one was for Tom Labange. He should have this one too, because that's perfect for him, talking about stuff that's big like this one. Street banners celebrating the opening of the Metro Exposition Light Rail Line. So this is not a bad one. I think I'm in favor of it. No one here will step up and say anything bad, because whenever you're in favor of things, they don't say anything. It's always when you're against stuff and they don't like it, and that's what they call content-based enforcement. And it reminds me of that, because this is a content-based item here, because we're talking about the content of these street banners. And I should have 2 minutes left on the clock, not 1 minute at this stage, too. So I seen a street banner thing for neighborhood council. I mean, what a joke. This is something actual, real. This isn't a bad one. I'm against them all. But you had one for a neighborhood council that absolutely sickened me. I'm like, what are we doing? Is there some
Thank you very much. The next speaker will be Mr. Herman, followed by Mr. Nordrigerian. Mr. Herman here? Mr. Herman, you have a card? Mr. Nordrigerian, come on up right now, too. Mr. Herman, your turn.
Well, who do you want?
Your name is first, but we all line up now. Since you haven't been here recently, we line up and get good public comment quickly. Thank you.
Great. On this motion, under item 19, unfortunately, I'm against. I believe the constituent, Mr. Sachs, was right about how MTA is abusive in charging us more and raising costs. What is a few $1,000s for these banners when we can use it to provide services for people who may need them for public transportation? I find it terrible at a time, again, when there's not much improved talk about budget, finance, appropriate use of city fundings. I should say the taxpayers' fundings. But again, let me keep on track. So if the Metro Exposition is in need of these banners, how are we to keep them enhanced, shiny, beautiful in our community when there is just so much proliferation that gets placed on them by mistake of individuals that have a lot of time on their hands? So will the city take the time to care for these banners? Will the city spend the time to put people to work to keep these banners clean and presentable and not an eyesore? That's the only reason why I was against it, and I stand against it. But I know there'll be many yeses on this point, and as I will conclude, Mr. Labange, really dig deep into the real problem of deficit, budget, and finance in the city of Los Angeles. Because with savings and improvement and appropriate use of taxpayer funds, we could do a lot more in placing banners throughout, murals, banners, all over, not just Boyle Heights, but in North Hollywood, further and further and better throughout Los Angeles. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You can go to the Board of Public Works. You'll get a good explanation of the process here. Thank you. Next speaker, please. 1 minute, please.
Respectable city council members, dear fellow Angelinos. Okay, my name is Armin Aknudjan. Actually, I endorsed motion Zion Park Perry to install street banners celebrating the Metro Exposition light rail line. Actually, of course, we need more banners, and maybe that will actually urge MTA authority to actually open up that red line, Metro red line, which is right now is not open. But they have those trains, testing those railways. But it's still with a kind of delay. I resent is awful, because this kind of delay I resent, because this delay, prevents people to using that metro red line, which been paid by was taxpayers, by taxpayers and by federal government, and actually. Maybe those benefits will help,
Thank you very much. That concludes our comment on this item. Mr. Clerk.
Yes, sir.
You have to fill out a card, sir. No. Sir, come up here. Just come up. Can we hear you?
30 seconds. Go ahead.
Sergeant, if you could state your name for the record.
My name is Mike Oliveri. I have been sick with muscular dystrophy for 2 years, and I haven't been back here, and I'm witnessing the same disrespect out of every single one of you guys. Not paying attention to anybody, saying you have monitor screens and assistants. If you guys think about shutting down my dispensaries, which are my CVS's and my Walgreens, which I don't think you guys would appreciate if I did to you, you got another thing coming. I am back here, and I didn't fill out a card because I didn't have the time to, and my ride was late. But I am not going away. The last guy in a wheelchair who was dying, died. You think you're going to wait for me to die? I don't think so. I'm here, I'm back, and if you guys show me the same disrespect, you got another thing coming.
Thank you very much for your comments. I appreciate that, and I want to see it sold at CVS myself. That's what I want to do. Anyway, no other comments. That was an extra bonus comment there today. But we have an item before us right now. That was a courtesy of the council. Thank you, council. Mr. Clerk, did we vote on that item?
We have not voted yet, sir.
Let's, no speakers on the queue. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
All right, so ordered. Any other items?
No, sir, there is not.
No other items. So this completes our agenda. Are there any announcements at this time?
Mr. President, before doing so, council has motions for posting and referral.
So ordered.
The desk is clear.
The desk is cleared. Any announcements? No announcements. Any adjourning motions? No adjourning motions. Have a good day. Thank you, everybody. Meeting.